Welcome, everyone, to the Ourlads Depth Charts Show. I am your host, Ryan McKee, and I'm joined, as always, by our Duke of Depth Charts, Tucker Moss. What's up, Tucker?
Not much. Doing good.
Yeah.
How are you?
You stoked for today's show?
I am. I'm very excited.
Loving that energy.
Jump
Hot
right
energy coming from Tuck. Loving it. All right. We've got a good depth. We're usually joined by Corey Hankey as well. He couldn't be here today. He's got some family stuff going on, but we are going to do the show anyway. We're going to talk about the latest news around the NFL, see how it applies to depth charts and roster building. And then we'll be back. It'll be a quick show. It'll be like a half hour or so. So strap in and get ready, people, because we are going to Tucker's depth chart updates right now. I'm going to share.
Get some, like sound effects, like confetti or something, and we're going.
Yeah. What do they have like music on here?
Oh
yeah, getting ready.
There we go.
Into the show. Yeah, there we go.
That's how we get into the depth chart update.
Little like chill music. That's a little too chill, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, I need some more sound effects. Going. Corey said I need a sound effect for when I stump you.
Oh yeah.
So which does not happen very often.
Yesterday I forgot Gallup was on the Raiders.
Yeah, which
brutal.
Almost never happens. I don't think I've ever stumped you before. All right, so where do we want to start today? We're looking at Tucker's depth charts update spreadsheet, which if you want to be added to this, just go ahead and send us a email to team@ourlads.com. Put it up in the lower left-hand corner there. Go ahead and just email us there if you want to be added to this depth chart update sheet. So it'll keep you up to date on all the latest depth chart updates that Tucker does on the ourlads.com depth charts. Hit us up if you want that. Where would you like to start today, Tucker?
We can start with Corey Linsley.
Okay.
That wasn't really a surprise, but Corey Linsley was released by the Chargers a couple days ago because he had a heart condition during 2023 where he missed most of the year, and he said he was pretty sure he'd retire. So they cut him, and he'll probably announce his retirement soon, I'd assume. It just meant I could move him off the depth chart, and their new starter is Bradley Bozeman, who came over from Carolina, but he originally was on the Ravens with their with obviously the Harbaugh connection, and then also their new OC Greg Roman worked with him, so he should have a familiarity with the Greg Roman offense and the kind of what they're shifting towards with more running and stuff like that.
Okay, interesting. So Lindsey retiring more than likely, even though they have not announced that yet.
He got cut, but I'd assume he himself will announce it soon.
Yeah, and we talked quite a bit at length of the we talked a bit at length last time about the Chargers depth chart, so we don't have to go into that too much. But there we go. Corey Linsley released, probably going to be retiring, 10-year veteran. Where would you like to jump to next?
I think there's a couple in the top right. Could you hit the view full spreadsheet? I think there's a few new updates that aren't showing.
Oh,
yet.
Sure.
There you go. So today there's been a few that are actually like that could be significant. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's all relative. But Mecole Hardman got re-signed by the Chiefs today, so he's kind of tricky for me to pin down where he'll be in that group because there's so many guys like in that tier on their team. Like they don't have tons of top end guys besides the obvious like Worthy and Rashee Rice and Hollywood. But behind them, it's like Sky Moore, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, Mecole Hardman, and I know they have some like young guys they like too. So I don't know like the odds really of him making the team or not, but he certainly brings obviously return ability, and he's familiar with them. So
he has some familiarity with the offense. There is a connection there with Mahomes, at least, even if they weren't always the best together.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know if he'll make the team or not, but definitely is able to. And then Sterling Shepard signed with the Bucks today, and obviously he was with the Giants for like forever. And they kind of needed some better depth there, especially with they have like one of their depth receivers, Devin Tompkins. He went on IR a couple days ago, so Sterling should help kind of fill in there. I mean, I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but they kind of needed some more like veterans in there. They have a lot of like undrafted on their team right now behind Mike Evans and Godwin. So those were like the things that happened today.
And PJ Walker signed here.
Yeah, so the Seahawks only had 2 quarterbacks because they cut their undrafted guy that they had. So they have Geno Smith and Sam Howell who are competing for the starting job. I expect it to be Geno, but yeah, PJ Walker is going to come in as the 3rd guy. So that's a lot better now. No team has 2 quarterbacks besides the Seahawks up until today. So I was waiting for them to make that move. That makes sense there.
PJ Walker started a few games for Cleveland last season after who am I blanking?
Watson.
After Watson went down, I don't know why I blanked that name. But yeah, PJ Walker did start the game. So I mean, he's probably just going to be an emergency 3rd quarterback, right?
Yeah, I'd expect he'd probably be the one that ends up getting moved to the practice squad that they'll elevate for games for emergencies. But I'm excited. Just as an aside, I'm excited to see how Sam Howell does on a new team because he kind of showed some flashes in Washington. Anyways, any other ones that are good? I guess we're going to mention Cam Sutton when we're talking about the Steelers here. Is the other big one.
You can talk a little bit about the Cam Sutton update. I can pull up the Steelers depth chart too. We can go a little bit into that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Go for it.
So Cam Sutton, it was something that's been kind of rumored about for a while that he might come back to the Steelers. He was on the Steelers. He was drafted by them in 2017, and he was really solid for them. He usually played in the slot. But then he went to Detroit in free agency last year, and he had a pretty down year. Didn't perform as well. He was on the outside, though, so it wasn't – I mean, he played on the outside sometimes for the Steelers, but he's known for his skills as a slot corner. So, and then he had legal issues, I know, as well. So he's likely going to be suspended, I'd assume, kind of similar to Rashee Rice, like for the beginning of the year to some extent. But it makes sense for them to bring him back because they really had issues at the nickel slot corner spot. Like they had so many guys competing there, and he just made the most sense because he's so obviously familiar to them. Mike Tomlin.
How many new pieces have the Steelers defense added?
They've
quite
added
a few.
Yeah, especially like, I mean, it's a lot of young guys too that they're kind of just trying out. They have so like Cam Sutton, they traded for Dante Jackson, I know, so he's going to be like their other outside corner beside like he's going to be their other outside corner besides Joey Porter.
Right.
I know they like Corey Trice, who was a 7th round pick from last year that missed the whole year due to injury, and then Darius Rush as well. But in the slot, it was like a very kind of one of the toughest spots for me to pin down like who's going to be the starter there because it's very. I know at like OTAs, they were rotating like Josiah Scott, Thomas Graham, the undrafted Beanie Bishop. I know they like him a lot. Like he has a pretty good shot of potentially making the roster. And then they signed Braylon Arnold like 2 days ago, who I have him in as the 3rd free safety right now, but he can play safety or slot corner or special teams. So he kind of offers a few things there.
Right.
But with them signing Sutton, he's kind of he'll be the number 1 guy, but the question is who will be playing there until he comes back from suspension.
Right.
So the most fun is to say that Beanie Bishop will win that spot because I know that he's been impressing them. But I think Josiah Scott is a good bet as well, or Grayland Arnold, depending on what they're planning on with him, if he'll make the roster or not. So it's really a wide open competition there. But it's a lot nicer having a veteran like Sutton kind of helping lead that group. Otherwise, it was very kind of just you're betting on a lot of unproven options.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've kind of gone around the league now at the major updates to the depth charts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything else on the Steelers?
I think that's it. I'm excited, especially with them getting Patrick Queen, though. Like, that's going to be a really interesting defense to watch. They haven't had like a really good middle linebacker like that for a bit.
Yeah. We're going to move on to talking about some newsworthy updates. Brandon Aiyuk was not present at mandatory minicamp as he searches for a new contract, but the Niners did give a new 2-year, $38 million extension to Christian McCaffrey. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the 49ers team building and how that will affect their roster, paying that much to a running back. Obviously, best running back in the league, arguably led the league in rushing yards last season, was the offensive player of the year. And so got a lot of money tied up in him. Still have money tied up in Debo. They did add some rookie wide receivers through the draft, Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing. Where are you at right now with the 49ers? What do you predict with this Aiyuk? Is this going to turn ugly, or are they going to trade him? What are we doing here?
So yeah, Aiyuk's holding out. But pretty typical. It's not like it's not that big of it. Like Sutton's holding out, stuff like that. But I expect them to get a deal done with him, and he'll just make a lot similar to like Justin Jefferson. It's just they have a lot more money.
Jefferson money?
Well, yeah, it'll be up there. I mean, it's like whenever a new guy gets a contract, it's kind of just how it goes.
Yeah,
like it resets every time. It's just a reset. Maybe it'll be a little bit less. I don't know, but it'll be up there. Like 30. It'll be $30 million per year to some degree. But them signing McCaffrey, I don't think really is anything a sign against him. It's more like it guarantees they're not going to have Debo after this year. So either they trade Debo during the season, like that's very possible. Teams have injuries and they get desperate and they want to make a push for the Super Bowl. They could easily trade for Debo then before the trade deadline. I could see that happening. Otherwise, he has this year he still has on the contract, but then there's an out. So I expect even if he doesn't get traded, he won't be re-signed again for the next year.
Yeah. So you feel like Debo's gone after this season, or maybe even this season?
Yeah, I think they'd prefer to have like Aiyuk is kind of more important to have that. Like Debo's kind of a gadgety guy, like they kind of move him all over the place. But Aiyuk is more that prototypical like big wide receiver option, and he really showed it last year, like how much of a presence he brings like against the defense. And yeah, I feel like they're kind of bringing in like not that Pearsall is similar to Debo or Aiyuk, but they're bringing in Pearsall and Jacob Cowing to kind of be the future guys coming in too. They re-signed Jawan Jennings recently. He signed his restricted free agent tender, which he's been good there too.
Pearsall is a bit more of a possession receiver, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he has athleticism, but a bit more of a slot wide receiver. And Debo does work out of the slot sometimes, but
same with Jawan Jennings as well.
Jawan Jennings as well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that and I don't know much about Jacob Cowing. Do you?
I don't. I think Pearsall can move around, but Cowing is like a pure slot guy. I think Pearsall played a lot in college in the slot, but I know like when Pearsall was drafted, I don't know if you watched any of it, but CJ Stroud was doing like a draft. He was doing a show during the draft with Micah Parsons. Did you see that at all?
No, I didn't.
It was just interesting to see him kind of react to stuff. I know he was pissed when Pearsall was picked because he like wanted him, which is funny because he has so many like, amazing receivers. But he was like, "Yeah, Shanahan's gonna have a blast with Pearsall in that offense. Like, he'll bring a lot. Like, it'll open up a lot more having a guy like that, they don't have a possession type receiver like that. So it'll be fun to see. I don't know too much about Cowing, but I feel like it makes sense just having more guys for Shanahan to kind of work with their specialties. I'm pretty sure he's pretty fast guy. So
yeah.
Besides that, they also this is kind of a side thing, but they also brought in Logan Thomas a few days ago.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. You can see Logan Thomas behind Kittle there on the depth chart. That was just yesterday or 2 days ago?
Yeah, it was 1 or 2 days ago. That was something that people have been expecting a while for them to add somebody there at tight end because they lost their 2 and 3 from last year. Eric Saubert and blanking on the other one, but they both signed with.
I wish I had a sound effect.
For the sound effect, Ross Dwelly. That's the other one.
Okay.
They both signed with the Falcons this offseason. So they're bringing back, like they drafted 2 guys last year in Cameron Latu, who missed like all of the year in the 3rd round, and then Braden Willis, who played a little bit in the 7th round. I know they like those 2 guys, but it made sense to kind of bring in a veteran guy, behind Kittle, especially with kind of, how many injuries that happened with the 49ers.
Yeah, especially with Kittle. Yeah, he definitely has had a lot of injuries.
So I think
that's interesting. I mean, Logan Thomas is getting. How old is Logan Thomas now?
He's 32.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
He's up there.
So he's getting up there for a tight end.
He was cut. He failed like his physical for Washington. They cut him. I don't know. So I'm guessing they think he's healthy now. He was clearly able to pass their physical. So I'm interested to see how much he's used compared to like the younger guys that they have. But it's something that was expected for them to get some veterans. So it's just interesting to see who they ended up getting. And Logan Thomas should he should help bring along those younger guys with Kittle. So it's just that they have so much money tied up with like guys like Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, and Kittle, and they're going to be paying Aiyuk and then CMC. All those guys are making at the top of their position. So they can't pay everyone. That's just kind of the nature.
But it's the reason they're able to do that right now is because they're paying Brock Purdy nothing for a rookie quarterback, or still a rookie contract quarterback. And so that's the big advantage. That's why you see people taking such big swings like your Atlanta Falcons on bringing on rookie quarterbacks who have some potential, because if they can get one, it just frees up so much more money for them for team building otherwise.
Yeah, and like the 49ers, it'll all change once Purdy signs a contract, in a couple of years. But right now they're kind of just going in on paying all these superstars, trying to win, which makes sense. It's just smart to do. But they're also planning for the future, getting guys like Pearsall and Cowing. They drafted Dominic Pooney here at right guard, who could end up winning that job over Feliciano. So I like what they are doing for right now, winning and going forward too. It's just smart team building, I think.
Yeah. Any thoughts from a fantasy perspective on Ricky Pearsall or Debo if they do end up moving on from him? Also Elijah Mitchell. Haven't heard much about him as the clear handcuff to McCaffrey, because they brought in a couple of other rookie running backs, Isaac Garendo, and who else was it? There's
an undrafted Cody Schrader from, I think, Missouri.
Okay.
I know some people really liked him. And then they also signed Patrick Taylor from Green Bay, who could also make the team. He offers a lot on special teams too.
So are they moving on from Mitchell?
That's a good question. I don't know too much about Isaac Garendo, but obviously they took him in the 4th round, which is like that's up there. That's where a lot of them went.
So they're for a running back right now.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of teams like the 49ers, they like the Dolphins, similar to, even though they're like, why would you draft him? They have McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell, but they're constantly refueling their room, because that's just kind of the nature of the running back position. You need to have young talent in there all the time, and especially for these teams that seem to get banged up all the time too. So I don't know too much about the handcuff, like who will be the direct backup, but yeah, I'm more kind of concerned about the passing volume. So like last year, Purdy passed quite a bit, but I don't know how many targets there'll be to share around, like with Pearsall and Cowing. Like Like they have so many mouths to feed. Like
because like
probably the most of any
Debo,
team.
Aiyuk, and Kittle are probably going to eat first, and then also McCaffrey catches quite a few balls out of the backfield.
And Juwan Jennings been there for 5 years. So
yeah. But yeah, you never see him taken as a fantasy option just because there's just not enough to go around, even though he is talented.
And so I don't know how much it's like it'd be very easy to see Pearsall just kind of taking a sort of red shirt, not to maybe that extent, but not being used to the amount he'll be used next year with Debo leaving. So I mean, if Debo gets traded, then I could see him doing a lot better, kind of being that number 2 wideout guy. But for now, it's like tough for me to kind of gauge how he would be in fantasy just because of how many targets that they have to go around.
Yeah, I do feel like Pearsall is more of a dynasty guy to grab, and in a couple seasons, that'll pay off once they move on from Debo. And as Kittle gets more banged up and gets older, I could see Pearsall getting a lot more work.
Exactly, and that's McCaffrey too. Like he's not going to play forever, obviously. So
yeah,
it's certainly you can see how many guys' names there in like caps. That means that they're 30 or older. So I think McCaffrey is 29. He's got to be 28. Turns 29 tomorrow. Actually, happy birthday, McCaffrey. But there's a lot of guys that are 30 and above. So they're just trying to get the win now, and then they'll probably try to shift a little bit more towards the future with the draft. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I like their team from an NFL standpoint, but it's tough to gauge, who will be the guys for fantasy. Like, do I want Debo or should I just wait, try to get, Pearsall or something like that?
For me, I'm staying away from Debo. I would draft Aiyuk, but he is pretty expensive. I mean, he's going up there right now. So
which it's just understandable. He's going to be like the number 1 option there.
Yeah.
So like that, I feel like Aiyuk is clearly priced, sort of like guys are taking him up high where he should be going, but Debo is tougher, especially if he goes somewhere else. Who knows if he'll be as valuable, or I mean, he could be even more valuable. It's just a wild card when someone might not be on the same team.
Right. All right. Moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about the Denver Broncos as the last team we're going to deep dive into today. We decided to talk about them because we saw a headline that says Zach Wilson gets a chance with the Broncos starters, ... and it didn't go well. So apparently Zach Wilson taking snaps with the starters, but didn't go well. Despite that, his odds on DraftKings to be the starter week 1 for the Denver Broncos moved from like plus 750 to plus 450. Jarrett Stidham moved down to plus 650. Bo Nix still at minus 400 to be the starter. So I don't think we have to worry about Nix not getting the starting job. But what are your thoughts here around the Broncos quarterbacks, and will Stidham move back to the 3rd spot in our depth charts at any point?
Yeah, so it's pretty tough. It's like, so what's funny is that Peyton had a quote like a week or 2 ago, and he said that they're all rotating first team reps, and he was cautioning people into reading into it, because like he's like, there's going to be a time. What he said is, so there's going to be a time where you read into reps, and I don't think it's early in OTAs. So I feel like they're just giving everyone experience. I know that the from the Denver Post, they said that Wilson looked like rattled or struggled to find a rhythm or something, like his first time as the first teamer. But this is something that's going to be going on here for the next few months. It's a pretty long process, so we're just kind of guessing at this point and going by sort of draft pedigree and what Stidham and Zach Wilson have done in the past. And we know that Peyton loves Bo Nix, so I feel like he's the clear one. But I think the backup job will be open competition all the way up till August. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. It is funny to see like kind of the things like that though, where I think the odds probably went out just because there were plenty of like tweets and stuff saying, oh, Zach Wilson's taking first team reps. And so it's kind of an easy.
Yeah. So the odds moved because they felt like DraftKings probably feels like they can bait people into betting it, even though it's not.
Yeah,
and
it's
gonna
not.
probably
It's
throw
not.
away the money. There's no way Zach Wilson is going to be the starter week 1 unless Bo Nix gets injured and
Right.
Stidham just totally sucks. And I don't think that's high probability.
Yeah, and Stidham had he had a year with Peyton here. He has a whole year head start on Zach Wilson. So, I get like Zach Wilson was a low commitment, like he cost nothing virtually. So there's no reason why they shouldn't bring him in just to see. He has talent.
Yeah.
And he's only been with the Jets. So, and Peyton would certainly be someone who thinks that he can coach him up. So, yeah, I think it's more just the competition for that QB2 spot, but we'll see. There's plenty of months left still. So,
yeah. Also came out that Cortland Sutton missing mandatory mini camp, also holding out for a new contract, same kind of deal as Aiyuk. Any thoughts there? I mean, they've added Josh Reynolds from Detroit, right? And Marvin Mims. Peyton came out this week and said he's very excited about that. And I even threw out a very long shot of Marvin Mims leading the league in receiving at 200-1. Just throw a couple bucks on it. That's all I'm saying. Check out our gambling show if you want more on that.
Did you put your money where your mouth is? Have you bet on him at all?
Yes, I put $3 on it.
Nice.
Because if he wins, that's $600. Why not?
That's pretty good. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see him leading the team in receiving. It's like, I don't think that's far-fetched.
It's not crazy.
Who knows?
Maybe especially if Sutton keeps sitting out, Yeah,
and
they're not able to get Sutton's deal.
And like, we don't really know, Tim Patrick obviously missed the last 2 years with major injuries. So it's been a while since he's been playing. Obviously, when he was back in 21, he was really good, but it's been a while. And then they have 2 rookies. I know Troy Franklin obviously played with Bo Nix at Oregon, so they have a rapport already built. And then I think Devon Vele is more of like a special teamer guy. But I did kind of put him ahead of Lil Jordan Humphrey, even though Peyton loves Humphrey. But I think that those 2 will probably compete for that backup slot spot. Yeah, and I just, as an aside, I've been hearing a lot about that tight end 3, Lucas Kroll. There's so much stuff about him, like guys at the Broncos saying like, oh, he's gonna my kind of sleeper pick for the starter at tight end is gonna be Lucas Kroll, or like everyone's gonna
really.
Know
yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Lucas Kroll,
because Dulcich was good in his rookie year, but he got hurt, and then he got hurt again last year. He's just had a lot of injury stuff, and then Troutman's kind of a old.
Troutman's never lived up to the hype.
Yeah, he's kind of just been with Peyton for forever, and he's never really lived up to it. But Kroll, I know people love him, and Peyton's talked him up like crazy too. So he's kind of a fun one. I haven't moved him up yet any further, but he's someone I'm watching right now to see if he's worth moving up to at least the 2 spot. Is certainly arguable right now.
Wow, that's interesting, Lucas Kroll. And well, I mean, what's his background?
He was a undrafted free agent for the Saints, so like Peyton knows him from 2022.
Okay.
And he was just like a practice squad guy there. And then in 2023 he got waived, and Sean Payton grabbed him up quick. So he's a Peyton guy, basically.
All right, so that is one to keep on your radar, Lucas Kroll. Anything else that we're looking at with the Broncos, or should we wrap this up?
I think that's it. I mean, I guess the only thing Estime I really like at running back.
Yeah,
he could be,
but he's still going to be stuck behind Williams and Pirine, right?
Yeah, it might be more of a future thing. I think Javonte, this should be his last year. It should be the 4th year. So Estime is probably more going in the future, but I like the outlook of this room, going forward after Javonte. Javonte was really good in his 2nd year there after he got hurt. But then last year he wasn't as strong of a player. So, and same with Pirine. Pirine was great as like the backup behind Mixon.
He's a good 3rd down pass catcher, right? He's not going to be a featured back though. He had quite a bit of moments and quite a few moments in Cincinnati as a backup to Joe Mixon, but and as a 3rd down guy. But even Jaleel McLaughlin had some moments last season. He's an exciting player.
Yeah,
I don't know how many touches he's gonna get, but he definitely had some moments last season.
Yeah, exactly. So like I feel like going forward, I kind of like obviously looking at whoever Sean Payton has at running back is going to be intriguing. The running game for his teams are always really good, except for last year. But I think, yeah, Estime and McLaughlin going into next year will be an interesting duo, and I'd assume they'll probably add more then. But yeah, I'm kind of watching that room, but not something I'm super intrigued by this year necessarily for like fantasy. It's kind of tough for me to evaluate, like tough for me to like really buy into for this year.
Yeah. So you're kind of staying away from Denver in fantasy for right now, unless you take like a long shot on Lucas Kroll at the end of your draft as your tight end. If you wait on tight end, right?
Yeah. He could. I could see him being like a waiver wire, like guy. It's like, oh, he's the starter now, and he's getting a good amount of targets, especially with the kind of with them losing Judy and having sort of some young talent there and new quarterbacks in the room. The tight end spot could easily be targeted even more. So. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It is Tucker, the Duke of Depth Charts, Moss, and me, Ryan McKee. We will be back next week, same time, same channel, with the Ourlads Depth Chart Show, going over all the latest news and referring how it relates to depth charts and roster building. So thank you so much for being here, and have a great weekend. Come.